topics and opinions expressed on the following show are solely those of the hosts and their guests and not those of W4WN Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4WN Radio, its employees, or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4WN Radio.
This is Beyond Confidence with your host, Divya Parekh. Do you want to live a more fulfilling life? Do you want to live your legacy and achieve your personal, professional, and financial goals? Well, coming up on Divya Parekh's Beyond Confidence, you will hear real stories of leaders, entrepreneurs, and achievers who have stepped into discomfort, shattered their status quo, and are living the life they want. You will learn how relationships are the key to achieving your aspirations and financial goals. Moving your career or business forward does not have to happen at the expense of your personal or family life, or vice versa. Learn more at www.divyaparekh.com, and you can connect with Divya at contact@divyaparekh.com. This is Beyond Confidence, and now here's your host, Divya Parekh.
Hello everyone, it's Monday evening and I am thrilled to be here with you. So folks, just a couple of housekeeping things that we always do. So first of all, thank you for helping us with your generosity for getting our books. I've got two right behind me, Expert to Influencer, and the second one, The Entrepreneur's Garden. Because with your help, we have been able to help entrepreneurs impacted by COVID-19 from the profits of the book. So thank you. And the second thing that I want to bring to the forefront is that it's critical. We are at this point in time in our country that we all come together and just donate 1 hour of your time. 1 hour of your time, folks. I request you to do that so that you donate that 1 hour of your time selflessly, without any expectations, without any judgments. And think about it. Even if 100 million people were to donate that 1 hour of time, we would have 100 million hours every month for the progress of our country. So folks, today we have a wonderful guest for you. Welcome, Sean.
Oh, Divya, thank you so much for having me here tonight. It's an honor and a privilege.
Oh, it's a joy to have you on the show. So, folks, I'm going to invite Sean. Is a wonderful, phenomenal lawyer, and his journey is just nothing short of amazing. So, Sean, if you're okay, we are going to start out with the journey from your childhood.
I'm here to serve. Sure.
Fantastic. So do you recall any moments in your childhood when you knew that you wanted to become a lawyer?
So the answer is absolutely, unequivocally not. And I would say to this moment, I would not even define myself as an attorney, and have never identified as such. I own a 125-person law firm. I own a number of ventures, including Unblinded. And everything I do in the world is to serve and to add value. So no, definitely as a child, I wanted to be a professional athlete. And that was my hope and my dream.
Mm-hmm. So what sports did you favor?
Yes. So I played high school baseball, football, and wrestling. And I was a Division I college baseball player at Columbia University. I was a 4-year starter, and I was captain of the team in my senior year.
Oh, wow. That's impressive, because getting to be captain of the team at college level, it's very impressive.
Well, thank you.
And so can you share during those years? It's kind of tough, because I'll share with you, I've got very close friends where I've seen them just kind of traveling day in and day out. And it's not that simple, especially baseball. I'm a Yankee fan. And if you're a Red Sox fan, it's okay. We're not going to have any arguments here.
No, I'm a Met fan. So, yeah.
Oh, okay.
But I played in Yankee Stadium. I had the privilege of playing in Yankee Stadium, old Yankee Stadium, before it was knocked down or rebuilt.
Yeah. Yeah, all, and it's one of the things I gotta share is that when I used to be in New York, lived there. We would always say, "How come Mets get such a closer stadium to where people live, and Yankee fans have to drive all the way out?" But
Yeah.
that's another story. So here's the thing: I've seen the parents as well as kids put in so much time. It's almost like a long-term marathon that you train for it, build that endurance, and you're in it day in and day out. So while you were young, how did you stay disciplined as an athlete?
Yeah. Well, I would say that the world has changed a lot. I have 3 children, and they went through the elite sports youth journey as well. And it was so
Hmm.
much different than in my childhood. So I just love to play. And a lot of my play as a 6-year-old, 7-year-old, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, before high school was just playing. I mean, I played on some organized teams, but a lot of it was just playing with my friends, especially at 8, 9, 10, 11, and I just would go play every day. And I grew up, I believe proximity, as Tony Robbins says, proximity is power. And the people I had by happenstance were in my very small little Catholic grammar school class. 3 of us became Division I college athletes out of 15 boys in the class. So we played together all the time, every day, and it never felt like work. It never felt like discipline. In fact, my mom would have to call me home and be like, "What do you like, come home? It's dark," and we'd still be playing and couldn't even see the ball. Now, by the way, I'm not sure if you know this. I'm sure the audience doesn't. That I'm blind. So I didn't know that I was going blind until I was 17. My mom knew when I was 5. And that's what caused me to not get drafted to play professionally, was just the beginnings of the problem. And so, during those days, I remember having some challenges with it getting, the ball as it was getting dark. And I didn't think
Hmm.
anything of it. I just thought everybody had those challenges. But yeah, it never felt like discipline. And I think this applies to everything we do in life when we're in alignment and we're doing that which we love to do, which is a footnote. I think we can so often recreate and reframe the things that we love to do so we don't have to feel like we're being disciplined. I've been working today for about 15 hours. I do so by choice. I'm honored to be here. This does not feel like work, and no part of today did feel like work, but very easily my preference today would have been to go skiing. My preference would have been to go to, I was in an island in the Caribbean last weekend, and to be there and be scuba diving. All those things are beautiful, but when we align our purpose with, as you say before, Divya, 100 million hours, what could that do? Or 1 hour volunteering, we align our heart, our soul with our life mission. I'm pretty certain that it doesn't feel like work anymore. And that's what it was like for me as a child in athletics.
Oh, that's beautiful, Sean. And you're absolutely right that when you love what you do and you do what you love, it's interchangeable and it's never work. It's just pure joy. And of course, I gotta share with you that sometimes when I am doing admin tasks, those are not as much fun, and yet they are part of the whole game that we are playing, and it's about the level that we show up as. Whether you can be showing up at PhD level or kindergarten level or a sprint, marathon, or just a short run. So it's all in how you show up and what you want to show up for and the alignment. So you talked so beautifully, and I've been very impressed by you, how you have just taken things in your stride. So you're a young kid, a 17-year-old with the whole life unfolding, and you are ready to unpack. You don't know what life's going to bring. How did you tackle such a big challenge?
Well, thank you for asking. Um, my grandfather was blind,
Mm,
and he was as close as anybody to me. My mom, my dad, my 2 grandmothers, and my grandfather were the closest people to me in the world. And I watched him be such a pillar of strength. And I also developed such high levels of empathy because of his journey. And when I learned that I was going to go blind, I think I've been blessed with an incredible amount of faith. And I do truly believe that God, and whatever you believe, the universe, God, makes all things work together for good. And I truly did believe that the reason this was happening is for some larger purpose. And as I sit now and was the founder of Unblinded, I believe that, and at every level. And at times and moments, it was difficult and frustrating. As my college baseball career advanced, there were moments when I began to struggle at a very micro level. Just getting the right jump on the ball in the outfield. Like making the right break for it. And I knew why, and I knew what was happening, but I can very candidly say it wasn't difficult. I've gone through some difficult things in my life, and I've been scared. For some reason, this journey, and it continues. I can't see anything on the screen, but I have a little bit of peripheral vision to the sides, and so my blindness journey progresses, and every day I lose more sight, and every day more functionality, and with all my heart, I can say I'm grateful for it. I'm grateful for the lessons. I'm grateful for the access and the relationships it's created, because fundamentally, isn't it all just a story? Like, isn't it really all just a story? And we can choose to create whatever story we want about it. And so let's choose an empowering one. And I believe that. So thank you for the question.
Oh, that's beautiful that we choose our story. And having written several books and having helped a lot of people voice their message to empower others, I totally relate to that it's choosing your story and what's your next chapter going to be.
And your work is so impressive, and I'm so honored to be here. And the things we're speaking into, this is your life's mission and work, and this is what you do and how you impact people. So again, thank you for having me here today.
Oh, I am very grateful to have you, to bring you as an inspiration to people, because people are hurting right now, Sean. Past year, there have been so many things that have been going on, and the reason I connected with you is because your goal is very much in alignment with mine, as it's about serving. And I always say ABS, always be serving. And that's so powerful. So share with us your journey as to when you found out, where did your life trajectory take you? And
Sure. So on June 1st, 2nd, and 3rd of 19, I waited by the telephone. I hoped it would ring, and I knew it would not. And that was when the Major League Baseball draft was occurring. And that had been my dream for my entire life. And so I couldn't even think of what would happen next until I knew for sure that I wasn't going to take that next step and play professionally. So going to bed on June 3rd, I cried, I mourned, and I knew it was complete. And then I asked myself, like, what now? What now? And the only thing I could think of was I need to get a job. And I was a Columbia University graduate, an Ivy League graduate, and I had no job. And my friends did, and I felt kind of weird about that. And believe it or not, I started answering ads in the newspaper. And the first ad I answered was for a management training position. I was so excited. And I went down and responded, and it was kind of odd because it was a storefront with that said Electrolux vacuum cleaners. So I'm like, well, all right, we'll go in and I'll apply. And they said, sure, come on in and, let's enter you into the training program. And a few hours later, they said, you're going to go out with, John, and you're going to learn the ropes. So I went out with John, and John parked the car, and we got out, and we walked up to a door, and John knocked on the door. The door opened, and John threw dirt onto the floor, like dirt. This woman screamed, and I'm like turning red and then purple. I can't even believe this is happening. And this was how he was going to sell vacuum cleaners door to door. So there I was as a Columbia graduate, knowing I was going blind, running around with this man selling vacuum cleaners door to door. And I have great empathy for him. I don't judge him, but this was clearly not where I thought my life was going to be.
Mm-hmm.
So that day I said enough of that. And I started answering other ads and applying for different positions. And I ended up getting an entry-level job in New York City on Park Avenue, which felt a little more like it fit in with a bank. I was making very, very little money. And I just worked there for a year and thought about my future. And I thought about going to medical school. And I knew I didn't have all the undergraduate parts. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to go to law school because I think I could at least earn a living. And when I go blind, I'll still be able to support a family when I finally lose the rest of my sight, which I figured would be happening in my 30s or early 40s.
Mm-hmm.
So, off I went, and I went to law school. And I never wanted to be an attorney. I just saw it as a mechanism of making a living. I created what I would now say were formulaic systems of how to succeed, which I now teach, and through I'm blinded and all the things that I do. And I succeeded greatly in law school. And it's not because I was that much smarter than everybody else. I just created a better formula and system for producing the results that were in front of me. And after law school, I thought I had my dream job. I won the game of law school as I thought it was to be played. And I won the game of interviewing as I thought it was to be played. And I had job offers from every major law firm. And I would later realize that's because I understood how integrity-based human influence worked. And so I started my job at the law firm, and there I was leading the firm billable hours. I was working like crazy. And what became very present for me was that this was not a track to have the money, the time freedom, or the magic, the impact, the pride, the connection, the love, the contribution, the team that I envisioned. Not at all.
Mm.
And so it was horrifying. And I was there for about 4 months sitting in my office overlooking my apartment, because I literally got an apartment right in the same footprint of this giant law firm. And we're all complaining every day. And what was a dream job, I realized that nobody was very happy. So I was going to quit. And I was going to become a high school baseball coach and football coach and a high school teacher. And the only problem was I was $100,000 in debt from law school. And I had been the first person in my direct family line to go to college. I didn't grow up with money. I had no relationship capital. And I was going to go blind. And if I was a teacher, how would I support a family? How would I not go broke? How would I ever even own a home, being $100,000 of law school debt? So I felt like I had to choose between being happy and being monetarily okay. So my chiropractor, who I went to and explained my dilemma, he was a great mentor of mine, said, listen, before you do anything, read this book, Awaken the Giant Within by Tony Robbins. I'm like, who? What? And I read the book, and I did all the things it said to do, including reading other books by other people. And I quit my job 6 months out of law school at this major firm. And in 2 years, I had built a 40-person law firm, 2 years out of law school, which I've never heard anybody before or since doing. And it wasn't because I was so uniquely disciplined or hardworking or intelligent or charismatic. It was because I had learned to synthesize a formula to create acceleration, duplication, and results. And I was mind blown that this was possible. And having been an Ivy League graduate, a law school graduate, that nowhere did anybody teach me any of these things. And so off I went. I built a 40-person law firm. I sold it 4 years later for in the multiples of 7 figures. And then I moved on to the space of training and development, would later create a second law firm. And, I'll pause the story there. But, that was the beginning of the journey.
That's beautiful. And of course, Tony Robbins has made a lot of difference in a lot of people's lives. And I don't know at that time if you were getting those big binders and tape record.
I was.
Okay, because I had, at that point in time, I used to follow quite a few leaders, Brian Tracy, Tony Robbins, and you'd get big giant binders and cassettes, and it was just a different time. And it's amazing how in span of within 20 years, how things have changed from where we have come to where we have come. So I want to go back to your point and your destination of journey. You mentioned you had built that 40 law firm.
Yeah.
So you're right here coming out of your first job right after graduating from law school.
Yes.
Can you share how did you go from that point to building that 40 person law firm? Because you always talk about relationship capital. So let's dig into a little bit in relationship capital and how did that apply to that particular instance?
Yeah, thank you. So first of all, I was scared to death every day. I wanted to quit every day. I felt so uncomfortable, confused, and lost. But then I kept tethering back to a formula that I was creating by synthesizing the work of Tony Robbins, Jay Abraham, and other amazing thought leaders. And in the simplest way I could share it, I realized that public speaking created preeminence. It created hierarchical primacy. It's why people pay so much money for a Super Bowl commercial. I define that as public speaking. Anything that you do in front of a group of people, an audience, whether it be on the radio or television, a live audience, through videos you put online, I categorize that all generally as public speaking. And I read a book, How to Make a Fortune from Public Speaking. And I read Jay Abraham's Success Secrets of Marketing, a Marketing Genius. And I realized that by providing unique value to already assembled audiences of people to solve a pain and a problem they had was all that business was and all that marketing was. And so I began the journey very quickly of doing exactly that. So I went to networking functions and I realized very quickly that networking functions were very random and things didn't exactly really happen from them, except by good fortune and happenstance. So I started my own networking group as a part of BNI. And then I realized very quickly that BNI is an incredible thing, but it's something to be graduated from. Because you want to be in the room of the optimal avatars that would be your potential client base. And so I started thinking about who that would be as a young attorney, who would even hire me, who would accept me, who would not laugh at me. Because I was 27, I looked about 19. And so I realized, chiropractors are pretty open-minded. And they have some very meaningful pain points that they don't get paid. They have times they don't get paid by insurance companies. So there's a lot of residual work that can come out of that. So where do chiropractors gather? And every grouping of people gathers somewhere. So there was the Northern New Jersey Chiropractic Society, and it probably had 50 members. And so a sequence of lunches, calls, discussions, I found out what the pain points were. I found out who booked the speaker, and I went in. But I didn't just go in to deliver any talk. I created a talk because I realized that chiropractors felt rejected. They felt put off by what would be traditional medical doctors. And I also realized that they had a hard time with insurance companies. They were dealing with multi-billion-dollar conglomerates, and they were little tiny, business people. So I spoke into that listen and created a talk called "You're at War and You Don't Even Know It." You're at war and you don't even know it. To discuss the battle they were facing with insurance companies that were there to not pay them, to put them out of business. And I delivered it with influence mastery. which I was learning at a high level, varying the 4 different energies of influence and the 20 levers of integrous influence. And when I was done, I had a line of people to talk to me that wanted to become my client. And I went from there to, they asked me to speak in front of the state society. I delivered the same talk. And from that one relationship and duplicating it to orthopedic surgeons and neurosurgeons and other people in the healthcare space, I invented an industry of helping medical providers deal with their battles with insurance companies. And to date, we've recovered close to $500 million on behalf of medical providers and claims they were unpaid for. And that's, one of the things that was the outgrowth of intentionality around leveraging value-added speaking that was a combined delivery of process, dynamics, and inspiration, motivation, energy, hope, faith, fun, love, power, and it created something completely extraordinary. And so that was how it launched.
Very powerful, because what you did was you went ahead and looked for the pain points of your potential clients and you addressed those potential pain points. And when you brought solution that was providing value, here's the thing, that if value is not a mystery, people will come to you. And that's what you did. You took away the mystery around the value you were providing, and it's almost like phenomenal. You created a niche for yourself. So when you talked about 4 different influence, can you share some?
Sure. So the energies of influence are, so first of all influence is taking our message, having it heard, received, and acted upon. That's all influence is. And integrous influence is making sure you're adding more value than you're asking for or receiving. And when you do that, you win all day long. And so the energies of influence, which is 1/3 of the influence model, but the energies of influence are 1, fun energy. And fun energy opens listening. So it's like, hey, like, how you doing? Like, what's going on? Like, present, friendly, fun, openness creates an access to listening. And most people are too afraid to have fun and to be relaxed. We're in our own head. We're like, are we being assessed? Are we being judged? So when you're in your certainty of heart-centered fun energy, it's attractive. It opens up people's listening. So fun energy is 1. The second energy is aspirational, where you're creating a vision of something moving off into the future. So the idea of what we might co-create here, Divya, is something magical, something special for people. And when folks like yourself and the incredible people listening come together to know how to do a thing, it's influencers influencing influencers, leaders leading leaders, to merge ecosystems, to come together. For 1 + 1 = 1 trillion, or at least more than 10, relationships to make the world an even greater place. It's a place we're going to. Aspirational energy, a vision of something possible and more. The third energy of influence is goddess energy. Not about men and women, but rather about heart-centeredness, presence, empathy. Like just here. And it's amazing the privilege of communicating with somebody who's an author, who has created a space for people, for acceleration, for mindset, for peace, for certainty, for awareness, for wisdom, for magic, for love, like you have. Present to what this is. That's goddess energy. Zeus energy is the energy of decision. It's not the energy of overpowering, but while goddess energy would gather, it would open the heart. It inspires trust, right? Because if we have no goddess energy, then we would just eat each other. right? We just do those things that we would practically want to take away from something. So goddess energy creates the trust, the foundation. Zeus energy takes that gathering and it makes things from it. It's the container for the water. Water is goddess energy. It's just flowing. It's present. It is. The system that can create hydroelectric power is Zeus energy. Zeus energy creates skyscrapers. It takes the aspirational energy, heart-centeredness of goddess, the fun and openness of the magic and fun of fun energy. It puts it together into a something, decisively, forwarding, progress, innovating. That's Zeus energy. And it disrupts, it opens, listen, a lightning bolt, which is our symbol in Unblinded, is Zeus energy. It creates, it accelerates. So those fun, aspirational, goddess, Zeus energy are the four energies of influence. And final, if you think of Oprah Winfrey, Bruce Springsteen, Martin Luther King, Tony Robbins, Nelson Mandela, Margaret Thatcher, Gandhi, Katy Perry, anybody of great influence has full access to all four of those energies and the ability to vary them in the right sequences and places to move people forward to act upon their messaging. So those are the four energies of influence.
Oh, beautiful. A lot to learn. And I love how you pull all of those four together, and especially Zeus energy. I remember growing up, I was fascinated by Greek mythology and all the different gods and how they behaved and all that. So that definitely pulls things together. And Sean, we'll come back to your story again. Can you share how can people go from hello to yes, which you are a master at?
Yes. So thank you for that. And excuse me. Thank you. So people can go from hello to yes by understanding that there's 4 steps. There are 12 indispensable elements that would surround those 4 steps and 4 energies that we just described.
Mm-hmm.
And the 4 steps are: 1, the building of emotional rapport, which opens listening. And there's models and sequences that we could take days to unpack. But without emotional rapport, all we sound like is Charlie Brown's teacher. Wah, 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 wah. And the creation of emotional rapport, and that is a fun parody, a satire of life. And the reason that Charles Schulz, the creator of Charlie Brown, the Peanuts, would have that messaging, because what he was really saying was the teacher had no rapport with the students. So the students heard nothing. And the exact same thing occurs when we do not have emotional rapport. Now, why do I say emotional rapport? Emotional rapport, because rapport is the absence of rapport from surface to real to emotional is the removing of filters. So the deeper our level of rapport, the less filters that are stopping our messaging, our meaning from moving through. So number 1, we must create emotional rapport, and there's predictable, duplicatable, integrous, non-mechanical, non-robotic mechanisms for doing that every single time with everybody you meet. But that would take a while to unpack. So emotional rapport. Second is the putting something at stake related to people's pain and yes strategy is step 2. What does all that mean? It means that people do not do anything for pleasure before they are sure they're going to have no pain. So people's desire to avoid pain, as Tony Robbins would say, as opposed to gaining pleasure, is exponentially higher. So people have an absolute fear, like a deer when they hear a twig snap. Deer's eating grass, totally peaceful. A twig snaps, boom, the deer's head turns, danger. Fight or flight, amygdala in our nervous system, that part of our brain, is activated. The same exact thing happens when people are going to be asked to take an action. Whether it involves money and buying something, hey, would you come on my show? Hey, would you come have a cup of coffee with me? Can I buy you a drink? Default no, twig snapping fear becomes present. So what we must become integriously masterful is revealing the truth of what's at stake if we give in to no and don't say yes. What is it that we lose? That's step 2. And there's an entire mechanism we've created to do that. Step 3 is, once you've created rapport, emotional rapport, listening's open, there's presence to the pain of not moving forward around a thing or not solving a problem. In our heroic, unique identity, we're conveying stories about ourselves that are integrous, truthful, that convey authentically the characteristics of us that would solve that pain elicited at step 2. And again, there's an entire mechanism in science around how to do that, and all of the different heroic, unique identities that we need to have. But fundamentally, people will want to say yes to people they like, but even more so, the people that are like they wish to be or become at their greatest. And that's all the characteristics we know that our heroes and heroines possess: integrity, love, commitment, loyalty, passion, problem solving, wisdom, fun, magic, ego subjugation, all of those things. Our ability to convey that through the stories we share and through the empowerment of our listening of others is the 3rd step. And the 4th is agreement formation. What is it that we're proposing that somebody does? What are we asking for? When the fear comes up again, the twig snapping fear of losing something and default no comes up, what do we do to reopen it? And there's 12 steps that would be too long to unpack right now, but there's 12 indispensable elements that have to remain present. Otherwise, those 4 steps become robotic, mechanical, non-integrous, inauthentic. The indispensable elements, I'll give you one. Number 1 is the unconditional love of people. We can't influence people integriously unless we have unconditional. We can't optimally influence people with integrity unless we truly unconditionally love people. And the way we do that is by realizing that everything that everybody does is either an act of love or a cry for help. So loads to unpack, but it's those 4 steps, those 12 indispensable elements, those 4 energies, masterfully understood and deployed integrously, that cause the going from hello to yes.
Beautiful, Sean. And thank you for sharing all your wisdom and deep nuggets. Definitely a lot of wisdom packed here. And I love what you mentioned is it's about that unconditional love for people. Because in past year, when I had written my book, I had busted a couple of myths about an influencer. The influencer is just not that person who is followed by huge numbers.
I agree 10,000%. So thank you for that.
Well, thank you. And this is not my quote. It has been around quite a bit. And the way I've defined an influencer is someone, it's like a rising tide that lifts all boats. And to it's not just about yourself that you are there and you can influence people and get them to take action. It's also about lifting everyone, growing together. So as we talk, we are getting very close to the end of our show. I want to touch upon a couple of points. Is that, can you share with our listeners that you have shared quite a bit of stages on which stages you have spoken and which brings back the fondest memories to you?
Wow. Thank you for that. Two pop first. One was speaking to 13 young men, including my son, when I was coaching their club baseball team that had been formed because there was a lack of integrity with a prior team that my son played on, which ended up imploding. And the kids that were on the team I was coaching, people didn't think we would ever be an elite team. And we were playing in our first tournament together, and so much was at stake in the future of this group. And we were playing a team that nobody thought we could win. And the conversation that we had sat in the space of not accepting anybody else's frame or story. And we went out on an impossible game. And we cried, and the kids went crazy. It was one of the most raw releases of energy, of pride, of connection, and what it built amongst that group and all of us, and what we did together the next 3 years was mind-blowing. So that would be one.
Bravo.
Thank you.
I love that. I really love that, Sean. And gosh, I could have a conversation with you for hours, Sean.
Well, I mean, just the second one briefly is I had the unique privilege of speaking on Tony Robbins stages, and it was Date with Destiny 2019. And somebody told me to stop hiding. Stop hiding when you go on stage. And I have the ultimate honor, respect, love for Tony. But what they reminded me was, even though Tony Robbins is throwing this event, what Tony Robbins wants you to do, Sean, is Tony wants you to remember that this is about the people in the audience. It's not about Tony. So you don't have to hide. Deliver and serve in every way you know how. And Divya, I, with humility, blew that room away.
Oh, I bet you did.
5,000 people, and it broke every sales record for Platinum Partnership, which I believe in, I'm a part of. And it was a very powerful moment of realizing what service truly means. So that would be the second one.
So beautiful. And I would love for you to share about your show and how people can get in touch with you. You're so I'm humbled and grateful that I had this wonderful time with you. And if you're open, we'll definitely bring you back on again, because there's so much
Thank you.
more to talk about.
Thank you. Yeah. So we do something called the Real Raw, which we humbly submit is the experiential dynamic in marketing. It's fun, it's powerful, it's amazing. And we've done more than 500 of them since COVID has begun, and it's expanding. We have partners and all sorts of things. So if you're interested in learning more about anything we talked about here today and potentially appearing on our show, it's kind of like TED and TEDx. We have different versions, but it's unblindedalignment.com. Unblindedalignment.com. And we look forward to co-creating, and we're grateful.
Absolutely. And folks, I had the privilege to be on one of Sean's Unblinded shows, and it's nothing like what you have experienced before. So I highly recommend to visit their YouTube channel, check it out. And as you have seen today, Sean was amazing, and he gives unconditionally. He is just out there to serve people, support people.
Oh, thank you.
Really appreciate you, Sean. Thank you for being with us. And we got some great comments from our listeners. Sean is incredible. You shared how to create more money in less time and more magic than you ever thought possible. So thank you again for being with us, Sean.
It's been an honor, and I look forward to co-creating in the future Divya, with you and with everybody. So thank you.
Absolutely. And listeners, thank you for you, because without you, the show would not be possible. I do the show for you. Anything that you're listening, anything you'd like to bring more of, I'm here at your service. Please reach out to us. And last but not the least, thank you, Rebel, for making the show possible. Thank you, Sean, again. Okay, take care.
Good night.
Thank you for being part of Beyond Confidence with your host, Divya Parekh. We hope you have learned more about how to start living the life you want. Each week on Beyond Confidence, you hear stories of real people who have experienced growth by overcoming their fears and building meaningful relationships. During Beyond Confidence, Divya Parekh shares what happened to her when she stepped out of her comfort zone to work directly with people across the globe. She not only coaches people how to form heart connections, but also transform relationships to mutually beneficial partnerships as they strive to live the life they want. If you are ready to live the life you want and leverage your strengths, learn more at www.divyaparekh.com. And you can connect with Divya at contact@divyaparekh.com. We look forward to you joining us next week, Monday, 8 p.m. Eastern Time.